Here.
Alderman Gartner.
Here.
Alderman Volkert.
Here.
Alderman Montello.
Here.
Pledge of Allegiance. Of the United States of America, republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
I so move.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. No public comments tonight.
I so move.
I'll second it.
I just want to mention that from the American Legion, they gave the police department a very generous gift of $5,000. I heard they do it every year, but this is really special this year.
Huh?
I hear they do it every year, but this is really special.
Yeah, they called and told me the amount. I was a little taken back. It's very, very generous, and we'll put it to good use for wellness and for staff at the police department for continued wellness programs. So very nice.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, so move. Old business, airport water main study.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. This item is listed under old business. If you recall, it was actually discussed briefly at one of our work session meetings. It was referred to the Airport Commission. They discussed at their recent meeting. Included in the packet is a proposal from consultant SEH to look at a water main study, looking at current and future needs at the airport, looking at the growth that we forecast in that area, not just at the airport, but the surrounding properties, what the storage supply needs would be, and looking at different routes and construction costs. And then the Airport Commission also discussed having them look at any other alternatives to having some other on-site storage capacity. So we would hope that this work could start this spring, would be completed later this summer. SEH is also doing the master plan work that started last summer. And so we felt it was advantageous to have the same group do both. So happy to answer any questions you might have.
Your motion to approve.
I'll make a motion that we approve.
I'll second. I have a
Any
question.
discussion?
Yep. Very much in favor of trying to figure out how we can get water out to the airport. And I've talked a little bit about the possibility of having a sewer run at the same time. Certainly very costly, but in study of just water, would we have to do a whole new one for a sewer then?
Not necessarily. I mean, obviously there's a different system to evaluate, but we can look at some of that in kind of indirectly as part of the scope of work.
Piggyback?
But it wouldn't be that down the road you'd have to spend another $34,000 to do sewer. We still would want to look at obviously just different systems and what those needs would be, but it wouldn't have to be a distinct study. Really, we're focused on the water just because that was really the need expressed by the airport for fire suppression, more so than the need for sewer. But as we've talked, obviously, if there's a cost to mobilizing construction crew, and if you're doing one, there may be some benefit doing both at the same time.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Are there any studies in the past that can be utilized for this? Official studies? I know we've done them before.
Yeah, I mean, this project's been discussed for a number of years, but a lot of that previous information is since outdated. But this has been talked about for 20 years. There was previous work done, so I mean, certainly we can utilize as much as we can from it. The same consultant was involved with those projects. So.
Okay.
Not take the roll, please.
Alderman Kittle.
Yes.
Alderman Vrees.
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier.
Yes.
Alderman Gartner.
Yes.
Alderman Volkert.
Yes.
Alderman Montello.
Yes.
Passes. New business, rezoning application, Rich River Trails.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I will take the next couple of items on the agenda. They were both heard at the Plan Commission meeting on March 4th, Tuesday of last week. The first application is a rezoning application. Twin Cities Land Development, on behalf of Creative Homes Investment LLC, submitted the application to rezone a portion of Rich River Trails subdivision. The applicant is seeking to rezone 4 undeveloped parcels, which are approximately 11 acres in size, from a planned unit development, we call them PUDs, into our Z4 General Urban District. The original PUD was completed in 2004 with updates and amendments to them in 2013 and 2019. Really what they're looking to do is take it out of a planned unit development, which has smaller lot sizes and has special requirements, put it into our regular zoning district. So it's much easier for us as staff to be able to look at their application for a building permit and see, oh, they're hitting our regular zoning ordinance, here's the requirements. The rezone is subject to city staff review, plan commission, and final approval here at the city council with the public hearing that was held on March 4th. We look at 5 different criteria when we're looking at zoning. We look at the consistency with the comprehensive plan, which we look at the future land use map, which zones this for, or which guides this for low-density residential. That low-density residential includes single-family and 2-family dwellings. The proposed Z4 General Urban District allows for this low-density residential. We look at the zoning, and they are looking to create 28 new lots, single-family lots. That fits into the Z4 zoning district. We look at infrastructure. They have access to water, sewer, and electric. We also look at, is it compatible with surrounding uses? So all of the surrounding uses are single or 2-family homes, which is in the Crowbar Edition, Pine Bluff Edition, and the current Rich River Trails. City staff and Plan Commission recommend approval of the rezoning application with no conditions this evening.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, any discussion? Not, take the roll, please.
Alderman Breeze,
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier,
Yes.
Alderman Gartner,
Yes.
Alderman Volkert,
Yes.
Alderman Montello,
Yes.
Alderman Kittle.
Yes.
Passes. Next item, preliminary and final plat for Rich River Trails First Edition.
So same scenario, Twin Cities Land Development on behalf of Creative Homes Investments LLC have submitted an application for a preliminary plat and a final plat, and oftentimes we see those coming together for approval process, especially if they're smaller subdivision plats like this one. The proposed addition consists of 28 single-family lots. The preliminary and final plat application is reviewed by city staff, brought to the Plan Commission, which it was at a public hearing last week, and final approval of them at City Council here this evening, if applicable. We look at the future land use map, which we talked about earlier, that guides us for low-density residential. We look at zoning, and since the zoning was just approved, it fits into our zoning ordinance is Z4. The surrounded uses are also low-density residential. All 28 lots are consistent with the lot occupation requirements in our zoning ordinance, which is setbacks and easements. The plat provides for dedication of right-of-way, which is 3 different streets: Rich River Way, Trailway, and Legacy Parkway. Access will connect to 140th Street. Staff feels that this is adequate to serve the proposed development. No parkland is dedicated with this plat, so at time of building permit, they will pay park impact fees. A little different with this subdivision as it was in Fox Run with the electric services. There's an additional load that was put on 140th Street, the circuit there for 3-phase. So there'll be a charge of $545 per unit for this subdivision, this 28 lots. Utilities underground primary on Outlot 3 shall be relocated at the developer's expense. All easements will be recorded separately. The landscaping plan is consistent with the city requirements, and city staff and Plan Commission recommend approval of the preliminary and final plat with the 25 conditions. Keep in mind, we're working with Twin Cities Land Development on the conditions. The majority of those are stormwater related. We do have a consultant who reviews and works with them on those corrections. So it seems like quite a few conditions, but we are working diligently, and we should be actually done with those shortly.
Motion to approve the preliminary and final plat for Rich River Trails First Edition with 25 conditions.
I'll offer that motion.
Second.
Discussion. Take the roll, please.
Alderman Weinmeier,
Yes.
Alderman Gartner,
Yes.
Alderman Volkert,
Yes.
Alderman Montello,
Yes.
Alderman Kittle,
Yes.
Alderman Vries.
Yes.
Motion passes. Bid for contracted pole replacements.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I have two items that are coming directly to the City Council since we did cancel the Utility Commission meeting last week. First one is for awarding bids for the contracted pole replacement and overhead facility work. We have money allocated in our electric operating budget as well as the capital improvement plan to change poles that were tested and either were rejected or are probable rejects the next time they test. We solicited bids. We received 5 bids back. The lowest bid was from Push Incorporated out of Rice Lake, Wisconsin, and we did meet with their staff and feel comfortable with them doing the work. We'll do a contract of a not to exceed amount of $50,000, and unless there's other questions, we would request authorization to proceed with awarding the bid to Push Incorporated.
So move.
I'll second that.
Discussion.
I have a question. Do we always bid it out to have the poles done?
So we, at times, will bid portions of it, work that maybe we can't do with the number of trucks that we have and staff. In total, we have about $50,000 of an operating budget and $100,000 in our capital improvement plan for pole replacements. So much of the $100,000 in our capital improvement plan will be work done internally by our staff. So this is to supplement the work that we plan to do.
Take the roll, please.
Alderman Gartner,
Yes.
Alderman Volkert,
Yes.
Alderman Montello,
Yes.
Alderman Kittle,
Yes.
Alderman Vries,
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier.
Yes.
Passes. Next item, three-phase transformer purchase.
Yes, thank you again, Mayor. These transformers we're requesting to purchase are both part of the school projects. One is for the middle school and one is for Paperjack Elementary. With the work that the school's planning, we have to move the transformer at Paperjack, so this new transformer will allow us to kind of get the new equipment set up to make an easier conversion. The 500 kVA transformer is for the middle school, which they will be doing a voltage conversion from 3-phase 208 volts to 480 volts. We got pricing from Resco, B&B, and Irby. Resco quoted ERMCO transformers, and they are the low-cost units, and we recommend proceeding with purchase of these ERMCO units from Resco for the total cost of $43,834.55.
Any questions? Do you hear a motion to approve?
So move.
I'll second it.
Discussion. Utilities.
So the utility is responsible for transformers up to 500 kVA, so we will be responsible for purchasing the transformers, but the work to install the transformer, to do any moving of facilities, that will be the cost that the school district will bear.
That's not included in this right here.
Correct, this is just strictly the
This is the
purchase
transformers.
of the transformers. Now, the transformers that we will be replacing will come back into our inventory, so we will have those back as spares once we make
Refurbish
the.
them or?
One will need to be refurbished. The other one we'll have to inspect and see if we need to.
Not take the roll, please.
Alderman Volkert,
Yes.
Alderman Montello,
Yes.
Alderman Kittle,
Yes.
Alderman Vries,
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier,
Yes.
Alderman Gartner.
Due to my relationship to the school, I will abstain.
Okay.
Motion passes. Bid results for truck number 64 replacement.
Good evening. So staff was authorized to seek bids to replace truck 64, which is a half-ton pickup truck used in day-to-day operations for the distribution system and sanitary sewer collection system. We did mail out there, or email the bid packets to the 3 dealerships in town here, and 2 of those dealers responded with the bids as you see. The Dodge Ram did meet all the specifications. The one specification that the Ford did not meet was the uplifter switch, and basically what that is for tying in like our beacons, the lights that are on the truck. It's just a standard switch in there. They only offer it in the heavy duty and 3/4 ton or larger pickup trucks. So for $700, pretty simple option that we can put in ourselves. We feel comfortable doing that. So with the bids that we have, staff is recommending that we award the bid to Johnson Ford in the amount of $44,489.
Yeah, do a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion.
So the Ford F-150, you're gonna have to add an additional $700 to that?
No, just to clarify, the difference between the 2 bids was $700 between the Dodge and the Ford. So what I guess what I was getting at was that for $700, we can justify the Ford not meeting that specification, and we can add our own switch to that truck.
I have no idea what a switch costs. Is that $10? Is it $500?
$500.
Pardon?
Couple of dollars.
Oh, okay.
So
All right, got it.
it's just not factory to the truck, that's all. But we can install them. We've done them in the past.
Thank
Any
you.
other discussion? Roll, please.
Alderman Kittle,
Yes?
Alderman Breeze,
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier,
Yes.
Alderman Gartner,
Yes.
Alderman Volkert,
Yes.
and I have Alderman Montello abstaining.
Passes. Next item, bid results for cured in place pipe lining.
So staff had requested authorization to do clear in place pipe lining. And just for a little bit of background of what that is, you're basically trenchless repairs to sewer mains without having to dig it up and excavate and everything like that. You're pretty much just pulling in a sleeve through the pipe, and then they're using air to inflate that, and then it's cured in place and basically completely replaces the structural integrity of the existing pipe. So some of the areas that we've identified for this are areas with roots that are penetrating into the sewer main, and this will prevent those from doing that, hopefully reducing backups. Some of the areas that were identified were areas that we know they're alleys or just places that are not going to be reconstructed anytime soon. The pipes are still in good shape, so now it's kind of the time to line these. And the areas that we've identified are about 100 years old. And still in good shape, but just preserve the integrity. So we did receive 2 bids for this project, which comes out to about $38 a linear foot if we go with VOUCHERS, and that's staff's recommendation to go with them.
Hear a motion to approve Visit Sewer for $86,943.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second with a question. Is this installed, or is this something that your department will have to install?
So this will be contracted out. It's a company that'll come in, they'll televise the sewer beforehand, clean it out. If there's any protruding laterals, they'll cut those. They do all the lining, televise it afterwards. If there's bypass pumping, that has to be done because that sewer main is taken out of service during the installation. They're responsible for everything.
So there'll be an additional expense besides what we have here.
Nope,
Oh.
this is everything, all package deal. Yep.
Perfect, thank you.
How long does that actually take? How long is the sewer shut down? You said there would be a bypass pump or something to pump during that time, but how long, is this a day project or?
I would probably say that they'll do, sections in a day, or, I don't think typically we won't let them bypass overnight anyways unless they
Yep.
want somebody there babysitting the pump all night
I
long.
would, that's what I was wondering, yeah.
But yeah, typically I don't know, I can't say exactly how long it's gonna take them to do this, but we would communicate with the contractor and just try not to do any overnight bypassing.
Thank you.
Dave, how big a pipe are you putting this in?
It's either 8-inch or 10-inch. There's a little bit of both.
And what are they telling you that it's going to reduce the size of the pipe by?
It's pretty thin. I'd say less than a half an inch thickness.
I have some personal familiarity with the product, although I'm sure the municipal application is bigger. Yeah, it cures really fast, as in really fast. But what are they telling you? How long should that fiberglass resin be resistant to roots growing through it? What are they telling you for that?
Past my lifetime. Essentially, it's plastic, so it really.
Did they know how old you were when they said that?
Yeah, I mean, it should last 50-plus years.
Okay.
So will this take care of the whole city, or is this
So this
yearly?
is
Is
this is for 2,300 feet of pipe. So hopefully the plan is to kind of continue this every, for the next 5 years until we do a lot of the clay tile.
This is just
especially-
phase one, basically?
Basically, yep.
And then I'm sure they'll bid it out again if they wanted to bid it out again. And then we would just say, here we're going next. Or you'll say, I mean, is it your opinion where they go or their opinion?
It's our opinion based on, roots and areas that we've identified that are.
So
that are
next
good.
year, we're gonna do X amount.
Hopefully
you
around
get-
that 2,000 to 2,500 linear feet every year for the
Every year.
next 5 years.
Good.
What does that actually save in the long run instead of replacing pipes in that? It must save a lot of money.
Yeah, especially, it depends on where you're lining the pipe at. If you're underneath the road, you're not tearing up curb, gutter, asphalt, this price, you're looking at $38 a linear foot. If you were to tear up a road, you're probably double or triple that.
Good resource. Yes. Any other questions? Roll, please.
Alderman Montello,
Yes.
Alderman Kittle,
Yes.
Alderman Vries,
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier,
Yes.
Alderman Gartner,
Yes.
Alderman Volkert.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item, programmable logic control upgrade.
So, part of our, Tower 3, as we've gone through that stage, we had MSA kind of do a deeper dive into our existing SCADA infrastructure, look for deficiencies, recommendations. It was brought up to us that, we should consider replacing some of our PLCs. So now the PLC is what basically runs our stations. It monitors for alarms, it notifies us, it tells our wells when they need to run, communicates with the towers, everything like that. So the PLCs that are in the water side of things are basically declared end of life. These PLCs are getting harder and harder to find, to the point where you pretty much have to go find them on eBay, which isn't a reliable source. So basically at this point, we're just looking to get authorization to bid out replacing our PLCs and get them updated with more current software.
So move.
I'll second.
I have a question. Will this kind of tie in with our next item on the agenda? Is that, they'll be used?
They're somewhat related. Yep.
Any other questions?
Alderman Vries,
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier,
Yes.
Alderman Gartner.
Yes.
Alderman Volkert,
Yes.
Alderman Montello.
Yes.
Alderman Kittle.
Yes.
Passes. Next item, request authorization to bid fiber optic installation.
So the city owns basically our own private fiber optic network. And some of this goes right by our towers and wells. And even electric's been running it to their substations. 2 of our wells actually have fiber to it already. So it's just a matter of getting fiber optic to the remaining wells, and actually the North Water Tower here has fiber to it as well. So a lot of our wells and towers are in the vicinity of our fiber optic lines. So we'd basically be looking at getting bids to install fiber optic conduit, the conduit and the fiber optic lines to the remaining sites. And then basically our SCADA system would run off of there as opposed to radios on the water side of things. And also AMI somewhat ties into this. I know we haven't talked about that in a while, but the fiber optic lines would be used for AMI if we go down that road too.
I'll offer that motion.
Second.
Uh,
When, Dave, when we build the new water tower, will it need to have a line out to that water tower then too, or how will that work?
Probably not at this point. Just the feasibility of getting it there and the expense probably isn't worth it, to be honest. Just because it's such a far run, and at $20 a foot, it's going to get pretty costly just to put
Prohibitive.
one tower on the fiber.
Now take the roll, please.
Alderman Weinmeier,
Yes.
Alderman Gartner,
Yes.
Alderman Volkert,
Yes.
Alderman Montello,
Yes.
Alderman Kittle,
Yes.
Alderman Breeze.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item, proposal for construction inspection services.
I'll keep going. So we had sent out proposals to get construction inspection services for this year, primarily for inspections on private developments, just to get, more competitive pricing and things like that. So we did receive 7 proposals, and staff evaluated them. MSA had identified a individual that had a bachelor's degree in civil engineering and 2 years of experience for $110 an hour. He lives in town, so there is no mileage for that. It would just be $5 a day for the vehicle fees. And then SEH, similar, they have somebody for $110 an hour. They didn't really identify in this proposal who those would be, because just not knowing the time frame, how often they were going to be needed, they kind of built some cushion in there too. It could be $110 an hour, could be up to $148 an hour, depending on who they have on site doing the inspections. So at this point, staff is recommending MSA as the primary firm, and SEH is the secondary firm for construction inspections for the 2025 year.
I'll offer a motion that we approve selecting MSA as primary firm and SEH as a secondary firm for construction inspections for the 2025 year.
Second.
Discussion. Now take the roll, please.
Alderman Gartner,
Yes.
Alderman Volkert,
Yes.
Alderman Montello,
Yes.
Alderman Kittle,
Yes.
Alderman Breeze,
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier.
Yes.
Motion passes. Commercial plumbing inspections, contract for services.
So when the city passed 10,000 in population a few years ago, one requirement going forward is to retain the services of a licensed plumber to serve as its commercial plumbing supervisor. The last couple of years, we were fortunate to have a staff member in-house who was able to do those inspections for us. So looking ahead to 2025, we have to come up with a new approach. And so we'd reached out to some of our surrounding communities to see who they utilize. And we'd be looking to work actually with 2 different firms. One, Johnson Brothers Plumbing out of River Falls. Actually, they do the commercial plumbing work for the city of River Falls as well. They don't do any of the commercial plumbing work in New Richmond, so you can inspect your own work. So there's some benefit to actually having a group from who isn't right here in town. And then they would serve as the plumbing supervisor. And then Maelstrom Inspections, LLC, would be doing the primary inspection work. Johnson Brothers Plumbing can be a backup to them. So if Maelstrom Plumbing or Maelstrom Inspections isn't available to do the work, it is nice to have a backup. So if someone's on vacation for a week, you don't want to potentially delay a project. We are still going through, as you noted tonight, our city attorney isn't here this evening. He's still been going through the red lines of the 2 agreements. We've met with both parties and been circulating red line documents. We actually started with the city of River Falls with their contract and used that as a starting point. And so for this evening, you could either have us bring this back at a future meeting, or if you're comfortable moving forward and allowing the city attorney to finalize the agreements with the two. There is a little bit of time sensitivity to it, just because if as plumbing inspections requests come in, we want to be able to do those, in a timely manner. But if it's something where you'd prefer to see the final language in the agreements, we can certainly bring those back to you. So however you'd like to proceed.
Contract with Grant Johnson and Joshua Maelstrom.
I'll offer that motion.
Second?
Then I have a question. The difference in having somebody in-house versus somebody not in-house, I assume the clock starts ticking when they leave their place of business.
So it's a per inspection fee is how we would be setting it up. So the developer pays inspection fee.
Right.
So in the case of Maelstrom inspections, again, depending if it's a multifamily building, there might be multiple inspections involved. If it's just, let's say it's a commercial office building, there might just be one. And so that contract will spell out a per inspection fee, whereas the Johnson Brothers Plumbing as the supervisor, that's in the event that they have to travel here, but again, more of their work is going to be looking at the actual plans. They're essentially the supervisor, and they're trusting Maelstrom Inspections to do inspections on the ground. So their contract will be structured a little differently.
So to that end, when we were doing them in-house, how are we passing a cost along to the developer?
So if you're doing it in-house, you would still be charging more on an hourly basis.
But you
we-
did charge for those.
Yeah, now the developer is still, as part of our fee schedule, is still paying a per inspection fee to cover that. So it's not necessarily charging them an hourly rate. But we want to make sure that the rate that we're charging was reflecting the time typically associated with.
Yeah, and I guess I wasn't even thinking about what the rate was. We did charge. So
Correct.
this won't be,
It'd
And
be
I-
similar to.
this is
like
not a
with
night
our-
and, this is not a night and day difference change, is really my question.
Correct. It'd be similar to our city planner, when they spend time reviewing plans, they're tracking their time. Where if we were contracting out, that consultant would be doing the same work. Except in this case, it'd be like if you were contracting out with a planner and they said, a CSM is $500. I'm not going to charge you per hour in mileage. I'm just going to give you a flat fee.
Okay, thank you.
Take the roll, please.
Alderman Volkert,
Yes.
Alderman Montello.
Yes.
Alderman Kittle,
Yes.
Alderman Breeze.
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier,
Yes.
Alderman Gartner.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item, contract for services, monitoring services for the former landfill.
So the city has worked with GHG as our consultant for several years now. Some of you attended a presentation earlier this year. Again, they know the landfill inside and out, and as part of, as we got into our work here in 2025, we recognized that we actually don't have a written contract with them. And again, we've worked with them for 20 years, and we were able to find, meeting minutes saying that they were approved, but at the time, the practice wasn't maybe to have a contract. And so we felt it was really important to memorialize what they're doing. So this isn't new work or new services being performed. It's really to make sure we have something in writing that says, what they're doing and spells out their fee for services.
So everybody in the group still pays their share.
Yes. Yep.
I'll authorize a motion to authorize staff to finalize and execute an agreement with GHD to continue to perform the annual monitoring services for our landfill.
I'll second it.
Which landfill?
This would be on 115th Street, so where the
Next to the disc golf
Yep.
course.
compost site, disc golf course. Yep.
Not take the roll, please.
Alderman Montello,
Yes.
Alderman Kittle,
Yes.
Alderman Breeze,
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier,
Yes.
Alderman Gartner,
Yes.
Alderman Volkert.
Yes.
Passes. Resolution 032501, 2024 amended budget. Brianne?
Mayor and Council, in your packet tonight is quite a bit of information. The first information in there is in regards to fiscal year end 2024 and the amended budget. So finance staff have completed our 2024 financial review, reconciliation in preparation for our upcoming audit, which is at the end of March. Prior to starting the audit, we bring forward amendments where those funds that we maybe had additional funds in revenues that then get appropriated to expenditures. That's what we're bringing forward this evening, as well as any carry forward funds that would then be used in subsequent years, assigned funds, and then unrestricted fund balance as well. We'll also give an overview of the unaudited financial results for 2024 and go through revenues, expenditures, fund balance, and where our debt is outstanding at the end of 2024. And then at the end of the presentation, we'd be just looking for a resolution approval that would essentially appropriate those carry forward funds, assign fund balance, and approve the budget amendments for 2024 so we can begin the audit. First up, in regards to the financial results for 2024, it was a very good year. We ended the year on a strong surplus, which we'll get into in the impacts of that on fund balance. Can you go to the next slide, please? This first slide is in regards to the general fund, or Fund 100, and the revenues. As you can see that we had a strong end to the year in regards to revenues at just over $10.8 million in total revenues, which far exceeded the 8.8 that we had in budget. So we exceeded budget by about 22% in all of the major categories of our revenue. Some of the main budget drivers of those favorable variances, can you go to the next slide, please, Christy? Is $513,000 of the replacement of a temporary use of our unrestricted fund balance that we did in 2023 to help support capital projects. Our intention of using that temporary use of unrestricted fund balance in 2023 was so that we didn't have to issue debt in that year. We did then in 2024 issue debt that then repaid the 2023 projects, borrowed for 24 projects, and also borrowed for 2025 projects. Also, the continued favorable market for investment earnings resulted in about $402,000 in additional revenue for the year. Building permits ended the year very strong, and street privilege permits. So street privilege permits first was $187,000 favorable. That's mainly driven by the fiber work that's being done on the right-of-way throughout the city. That was kind of a year two. Year one last year, we saw a favorable increase too in that right-of-way building permits, or right-of-way street privilege permits, excuse me. The building permit fees collected for 2024 also remain strong. A main driver of that was the mixed-use library building project, having a favorable variance of about $185,000 to budget. The Share Ride Taxi program, so a large share of the Share Ride taxi service is paid through federal and state grants. So when we budget the city's expenditure share of that. And so when it comes to the revenue that's actually taken in, that's a favorable variance to the budget year over year. In 2024, we had just under a favorable variance of $174,000. Also, we closed Tax Increment District 6. This would be our third tax increment district closed over the last 3 years. In prior years, we've closed 5 and 8. 6 was in 2024. The city's share of that fund balance upon closure was $113,500. Those funds, when they're closed and if there's a surplus in the tax increment district, that comes in as unrestricted funds to the city's general fund. Also, there was a sale of property on the south end of the city, which resulted in a $90,000 sale. We took in various grants and as donations of $78,000, which was a favorable variance to budget. We also unfortunately had some damage to vehicles and other property, city-owned property. So we had $58,000 in insurance recoveries in 2024 to make those necessary repairs on those vehicles and other infrastructure that was damaged. Next page. In regards to expenditures, expenditures ended just over budget at $9,070,492. The 2024 adopted budget was $8.8 million. So we were just slightly over budget at about 2% of the overall budget. Very well kind of dispersed in regards to budget management throughout all departments. So I want to give credit and kudos to all of our department heads for managing their budgets very well in '24. There are some favorable variances in some areas due to vacancies as we were hiring for positions, and so some of that did result in some favorable balances. But you know, a very, very strong end in regards to our expenditures for '24, and lower than we were in prior year when we look at 2020. Some of the main drivers of our expenditures, again, was the share ride taxi. Again, as I mentioned, we budget just the share that the city is responsible for. So the largest share of expenditures and revenues comes in from the reimbursement of those federal and state grants that we receive. So the total share ride taxi expenditures in 2024 was $191,000. We had $60,000 in traffic signal repairs that was not budgeted. That was an unforeseen expenditure that occurred in 2024. As I mentioned earlier, on the revenue side, we had those $58,000 of insurance recoveries come in. We had $57,807 of actual insurance repairs that were incurred in 2004. There are some funds that we did collect that will carry forward as some of those repairs weren't completed until 2025. There was $47,000, which is the city's share of the fire department's ladder truck repairs. The city, as a share in that fire jurisdiction, our share is 54%. The total expenses associated with the ladder truck and repairs to that were just under $80,000. We did plan for that, so that is a use of carry forward funds from 2023 that we are appropriating into. We also had $43,000 in expenditures in order to extend electric service at the airport. While that was not budgeted, that was a project that was discussed early on in the year and approved to move forward with. There were some grants that were received from the airport that date back to CARES funding and ARPA funding that would have covered salaries at that period in time. So the favorable operational expenses helped to cover the expense of the electric service extension to the airport in '24. We also had $14,000 in a medical reserve payment that was paid due to a retirement. And then finally, we had an additional $14,000 in auditing expenditures in '24. That again is due to meeting the requirement that triggered the single audit underneath federal guidelines. At the end of the year, we end our total general obligation debt outstanding at just under $23 million. In '24, we had $2.3 million in total principal and interest payments. The total debt that we issued in 2024 was $7.5 million. So you'll see in '23, we were at $17 million. We had that payments throughout the years, and then we issued debt in 2024. So went up to the $22.9 million. Where those payments come back in regards to payments of the $2.3 million, there's a variety of sources that repay the debt on an annual basis. In '24, 63% of our debt payments came from taxes that were levied. 3% were repaid through increment created in the tax increment districts, and then 34% was paid through the utility fund. So electric, water, sewer, and stormwater utilities. So the rates that are charged to users of those utilities is what repaid the debt service allocated to those utilities. Finally, on fund balance, we have a very nice increase to our unrestricted fund balance ending strong in 2024. So our fund balance at the end of the year increased to $4.6 million. That's an increase of just under $1.9 million. The unassigned fund balance also had an increase of $107,000. That is due to some of our carry forward appropriations that we're making a recommendation this evening as part of the resolution. And then our non-spendable fund balance actually decreased, which is a good thing. That means that that non-spendable portion now became in a spendable format. So each year, those kind of longer term, non-liquid type of fund balances are considered non-spendable form. And so we saw a decrease of that due to long-term note between the Development Authority and the city for tax increment district number 11. So that was a decrease of $182,000. Just as a reminder, our fund balance targets, we actually have two targets that we're looking at. One that is a percentage of the unassigned or the unrestricted fund balance as a percentage of the following year's expenditures. Our target maximum there is 40%, so we want to range between 30 and 40%. That first metric that we look at and target, we are at and achieving. We're actually exceeding currently. The second target is based upon Moody's credit rating agency. That is a calculation where it takes into account all funds, all major funds of the city. And that ratio, we don't calculate until we have the audited results of the financial statements for 2024 back. From 2023, as just a reference point, our maximum target or our max goal based upon Moody's recommendation is 60%. We were at 48% in 2023. So we do anticipate that number to increase. But again, we don't calculate that until the auditors have completed their financial review of our projections. So midsummer, we'll be able to provide you with an update in regards to where we are at with that last metric or target for fund balance. But very good, strong health. That was certainly a strong talking point in our latest rating. With Moody's is the strong fund balance and strong financial management that the city has. And so our results in 2024, very favorable. Happy to take any questions and then also consideration for the council to approve the resolution that's before you this evening.
I do have a couple questions for you. Early on, you talk about income from various grants and donations. Money's never given to the city like, here, do with this what you want. So all of those funds, whether it's a grant or donation, it's specifically identified as belonging somewhere, correct?
Correct, unless for some reason we do receive donations at times where there isn't a specific earmark per se associated with it, but those are fairly rare.
Room tax, down $21,000, 12%. I'm curious, Pete, do you have a sense, and not to put you on the spot, but do you have a sense of why that is?
Less days. We've had decreased
Wait a minute, we're having less, I want to make sure I understand you right, less hotel stays. I understand during COVID, but since then, the trend has been less hotel stays. Not asking you to provide this tonight, but it would be nice if the council could get at least an annual snapshot. I don't remember the last time we talked about our retirement fund, where we're at with the, that amount we're kind of chasing to catch up with, but it just.
Yep, I can, actually, that is in the packet. That is listed as.
Really shouldn't do that, Rand, because people are going to
Sorry.
think that I set you up for this. Oh, well, I happen to have that right here.
60,000. Right?
So underneath the assigned fund balances, It would be on just after the budget amendments where we look at the approval of the transfers in the packet, where it says medical reserve account, we have $172,000
Right, I was,
earmarked currently for that.
right, but I was curious, that number we're still, we're going
Correct.
after.
So we still are on target based upon the projections of how we are structuring the funds that go in annually. So in 2024, there was $65,000 that went into that fund. Next year, that is, I believe, $70,000. So by 2028 was the target that that would be a fully funded liability, and then we would just need to
Then if you
kind of
have,
increment.
if an employee retires and where that cost is realized, are we doing that plus the plus the amount we've budgeted, or is it just the amount we budgeted?
So we've had a couple of retirements over the last 2 years and have been in a good position where we didn't need to, we could leave essentially the principal of this MRA account untouched, allow it to be a budget variance because we were in a surplus situation. So the last few years, because of our financial position, we were able to set aside those additional funds for MRA and pay out the retirement.
Municipal court, I'm curious, that's a rather large variance from an expense standpoint. And is there I actually didn't write the numbers down, but it was a large variance. Do we have a sense of why that is?
In regards to the expense.
It was an expense,
actual-
I'm gonna look for it right here, but,
1,000?
yeah, it's 21,000, which is, again, was 12%. It's under that general government expenditure summary.
I am not recalling specifically what that, we can certainly get that.
I wasn't, and
Yes,
actually,
they're in
just
that detail
for the
in
record,
there.
I wasn't necessarily expecting you to know that, but I am curious. I know we've had some very light conversations about the municipal court and the economic plus and minus of us having that, because it's not statutorily required, I think. So anyhow, that's a conversation for another day, but I did just want to point that out.
I do believe that legal services was in unfavorable variance. So I think the type of cases that they are maybe handling has required more of the court attorney to be involved. So we have seen that expense increase year over year. I don't know if that, I don't think that's the full 21,000, but I know that that certainly is a portion of it.
Well, and it's interesting, I think that, I didn't realize this until I was educated on this a few years ago. The municipal court can represent a cost to the taxpayers for the service that it does. It isn't self-funding. I know that there are benefits to having a municipal court, but it's just a conversation I think we'll be having at some point. I think the last question I had for you is, building inspections are up $48,000. That is and I understand I'm looking at an expense category, but that is a net zero, correct?
Correct. And so the reason why building inspections is higher, so that really, when we come into the budget, we look at staff and shared positions, and we allocate based upon where typically their work maybe historically has been performed. So each year, we'll see the same kind of variance in streets and parks. If there's a little bit more work that's being conducted in the streets and salaries are shifting a little bit there, or in parks, we typically see that. That is what we saw in building inspections too. It was just more so where work was actually performed in 2024 versus where it was budgeted at.
And I guess the real question,
So
I'm
it-
sorry, the meat of the question that I was after is, it is kind of a wash. I mean, it is mostly a wash. We do building inspections, those get paid for or not necessarily? We send a building
Yeah, I
inspector
mean,
out to inspect
When we
something.
look at building and zoning as a whole,
Yep.
that typically is profit center, if that's what you kind of, they usually make an income,
It's a user fee.
correct?
Okay. So that particular $48,000 increase in expense doesn't represent anything to be concerned about, because it is basically in and an out. I mean, pretty close to being a wash.
Correct. And then I would also say in other areas, so in economic development and in planning, those actually were lower. So when we look at kind of building and that staffing structure, I look at all three when we're looking at that. For reporting purposes, obviously, we report by department, but from an overall holistic point, those are the three areas that we would look at to say, are they truly over or not? So in those three areas, they were right on target and on budget.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I want to offer a motion that we approve. It's an ordinance that we're doing?
No,
Amended
we're
budget.
budget
The
amendment.
budget amendment for 2024 as it's been presented tonight.
You have to put the number on there, Mike?
I don't know.
Another number right below there too, that's.
I'm trying to get back to that page. So it is resolution, right? 032501, approving the attached amended 2024 budget. Carry forward fund balance to 2024 in the amount of 667,588.34 with an assigned fund balance in the amount of 229,076.56.
I'll second all that.
Question about the municipal court. Do we have to send percent to the county from that?
Well, so, based on some of the comments Mike made here, a question I was going to throw out to the group would be at one of our work sessions this summer, if you'd like to kind of take a deeper dive into municipal court of, if there's a penalty fee, right, where does that go? Just look at some historical information, and then, to Mike's point, it also is not a required service. So if that's something we were going to continue, or if there was a different approach we wanted to take, it might be something that at a work session we could take a half hour and kind of dive deeper into that if that's of interest to the group. Something we don't talk about a whole lot, so.
It is,
Do we send a percent to the county of what's collected or not?
Yeah, the way the fines work is it's assessed over a big period of, there's jail assessment fees, there's prosecution fees. There's all these fees involved. The actual fine amount's very small, but yeah, it does get divvied up depending on whether it's a municipal court citation for like disorderly conduct or a traffic citation on where it goes.
but importantly, the expense doesn't get divvied up.
Not that I'm
Sorry,
aware
that
of.
was a small attempt at humor. Very small, apparently.
Any other questions? Roll, please.
Alderman Kittle,
Yes.
Alderman Breeze,
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier,
Yes.
Alderman Gartner,
Yes.
Alderman Volkert,
Yes.
Alderman Montello.
Yes.
Passes. Next item, Resolution 032502, establishing a decision committee for micro and facade loan programs administered through the Regional Business Fund.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. So just to kind of preface this, tonight's action is formalizing. We have been part of, and this isn't necessarily a new program that the Regional Business Fund is offering, but when we were looking at essentially assigning committee to it, there hasn't been formal action taken by the council to assign the committee. So this evening, we're bringing before you that formal action to assign a committee to review the application. So underneath the Regional Business Fund, it is a nonprofit organization that helps businesses within Western Wisconsin. The city has had a couple of businesses apply through these two loan programs, the micro loan and the facade loan program. They both have criteria that is established, eligibility requirements and application process and things of that nature. Once an application is submitted, the West Central Planning Commission evaluates it, but then they reach out to the local committee to review that application and then opinion on the potential award for that business. So tonight's action is just making a recommendation that Forward New Richmond would serve as that application committee review body moving forward. And if there's any questions that the council has, staff is certainly happy to address. But we feel that the Forward New Richmond committee really directly aligns with both of these programs' vision and mission. That would be a good fit moving forward.
So individuals, maybe businesses are applying for loans under these programs.
Correct.
And The suggestion, I think, makes sense. And I'm willing to offer as a motion, Mayor, the approval of resolution 032502, establishing Forward and Richmond as a decision committee for loan programs. I'll save my comment till after a second if it's given.
Second.
The reminder would be that folks have to be extremely diligent, that if they have any type of connection with an individual who's receiving borrowed funds, they have to not only abstain, but really be not involved in conversations. They need to leave the room. Ford and Richmond I think, is a bigger body than CDA, maybe by one or two people. But they just need to be reminded of that. And so when Ford and Richmond is tasked with this, assuming it passes a vote, everybody's reminded that if they have any connection to somebody who's receiving loan benefits, they cannot be involved in the conversation. They have to leave the room while the conversation's being held.
I think when, might be some new members coming on, one or two in, I believe, May, maybe we can let everybody look at what, the rules, that type of thing, for the whole committee, I guess, a refresher for everybody. I think that'd be appropriate.
I know these are very few in numbers, but I guess what I would like to see is, prior to having one of these meetings, that it's actually read to everybody in that committee on that specific date, making sure that everyone understands that policy. State it at the beginning of the meeting.
And I think the challenge has been, quite honestly, that sometimes members of the committee might be tasked, it might be seen as being tasked with that responsibility. And I guess I'm going to ask that staff do that, to make the announcement pre-meeting, reminding everyone. May not be up to staff to say, hey, you got to go. But I think just for consistency's sake, I think if staff's able to kind of lay that out there every time, I think you probably can't, for the type of work that Ford and Richmond has done, you probably can't talk about that enough, in my opinion.
I'm on other boards, and at the beginning of each meeting, that is actually an announcement.
Call for the question.
What other questions?
Alderman Vrees,
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier,
Yes.
Alderman Gartner,
Yes.
Alderman Volkert,
Yes.
Alderman Montello.
Yes.
Alderman Kittle.
Yes.
Passes. Next item, fourth quarter tourism funding recommendations.
So at the last tourism committee, which was held on February 13th, there were several applications that were reviewed, and those recommendations are coming before the council for authorization to move forward this evening. So the city of New Richmond issued 3 applications, one for a staff reimbursement in the dollar amount of $1,715.85, one for Small Business Saturday, which was for the banner, $682.50, and the utilities for athletic facilities at $17,423.80. New Richmond Area Chamber of Commerce for Hometown Holidays also submitted, and the Tourism Committee is recommending $8,733.41 in reimbursement. The Heritage Center for the Hillside Series, Heritage Days, and Christmas activities, $7,256.47. And then lastly, the Visit New Richmond expenditures that the Tourism Committee had in 2024 at $233.89.
Make a motion to approve the allocations from the Tourism Committee.
Second.
Discussion.
Just, right now, the city has expenses affiliated with local events that happen. Do we, public safety, et cetera, do we collect for those, Pete?
Not yet.
Something we're talking about? Okay, thank you.
Alderman Weinmeier,
Yes.
Alderman Gartner,
Yes.
Alderman Volkert,
Yes.
Alderman Montello,
Yes.
Alderman Kittle,
Yes.
Alderman Breeze.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item, ordinance 621, Park Board composition.
So currently, the Park Board has 7 members. Currently, there is 1 city council member, 1 representative from the school district, and 5 citizens. In speaking recently with Mayor Zakowski, he had asked that we look at potentially changing the composition of the Park Board so that there would still be 1 representative from the school district. However, the number of citizens would decrease from 5 to 4, and then there would be 2 representatives from this body. So it could either be 2 alderpersons, or it could be the mayor and one alderperson. So if the council wanted to take action on that this evening, we have drafted the ordinance. If you'd like to have more discussion, we could certainly discuss it at the March work session. If you don't want to make any changes, then no action is needed at all. So I really just wanted to bring it forward to you tonight. Happy to answer any questions, or if Mayor Zakowski, if you want to say anything about it. So.
Well, I just felt that in the past, we did have 2 aldermen on, or 2 aldermen on the committee. And I just feel that one person is going off, they're not going, of the public, they didn't want to re-up. And I just feel that other committees, most committees, we have at least 2 aldermen on the committee, or representatives from the city. And I felt at this time that it'd probably be better if we had 2 people.
Well, just before we do that, I thought we could possibly set this up the same, kind of the same as the planning commission is set up, that the mayor would automatically be a member of the park board or their designee of an elected official. Is there a reason we don't set this up that way?
So to have,
It's the mayor and 1 alderperson, or if the mayor designates or appoints another alderperson in their place, that's how it would be. I mean, you could say it kind of does the same thing, although, in terms of ordinance, that really directs that it's going to be the mayor and 1 alderperson, not requiring the mayor conceivably to have a protracted conversation about their appointment.
yeah, if you'd like us to reword that slightly to, if
Well,
that's really the intention.
I don't know, that's a
um,
thought that I had, and
yeah.
I don't know how everybody else feels. I mean, there's probably nothing wrong with the way it is, but it just is not as specific if that was, if
Well,
that's easier.
It says 2 elected officials. It can either be 2 alderpersons.
But it's based on mayoral appointment, that's all. And so the mayor's automatically on the planning commission. The mayor could automatically be one of those people, or if we have a mayor at some point who's not interested, they could appoint somebody else to serve in their stead. I'm not, that really probably would just let that go.
Well, so Mike, for the plan commission, that ordinance reads that the plan commission shall consist of the mayor, 1 alderperson, 5 citizens.
Right.
So again, if the mayor at the time doesn't want to be on the plan commission, currently by ordinance, there isn't a.
They have to.
something. Right, they have
They
to
have
be.
to.
So that would require a change down the road. So this gives a little more flexibility.
Well, yeah,
but-
I wasn't talking about changing the plan commission. I'm just saying at the plan commission, the language that I could see adding is the mayor and, or their appointee from the other elected officials. So you could have 2 alderpersons. You can kind of say it's the same, just if a mayor chooses to appoint themselves, there could be some protracted thing because there's room for that.
Sure.
Right? It's not set up by ordinance. That's all. So I don't know.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't. So I just think it makes it easier, quite
Yeah.
honestly.
You can pass it tonight if you want to suspend the rules.
Well, again, the way it's written, that's not what it says. It just says that there would be 2 elected officials, and the mayor can be one of those. So really, if that's what y'all want, then we can do that. Or if you
Fine,
want to automatically make it the mayor and an elected official, we can do that.
I like the option of having the mayor designate.
But you're saying designate 2. You mean the way it's written? Or the mayor or their assign, I'll call it that. Okay, so we could the language could, I guess, I'm gonna make a motion that the language says, hereby create a board of park commissioners, also known as park boards. Park boards shall be composed of 7 members. A member shall be appointed by the mayor, subject to the approval of the common council. The members shall consist of 2 elected officials, the mayor or their designee, and then an elected official. I think we need to spell that out, Noah, and another alderperson. So there's going to be 2 elected officials on there, but one of them is automatically the mayor unless the mayor chooses to appoint somebody in their
I think
place.
that's what it says already, doesn't it?
No, it just says the member shall consist of 2 elected officials, mayor and 1 city council alderperson, or 2 city council alderperson. It's not requiring by ordinance that the mayor is automatically there. And so,
I don't think we want the ordinance to read that he's
again, if a
automatic.
mayor.
Or his designee, right?
Well, yeah, but if the mayor, you'd have a situation where the mayor wants to appoint themselves and maybe people didn't want that. Now you have this protracted discussion. Is there a problem with the person who's elected mayor of City of Richmond? It really isn't a big deal. This isn't a hill I'm gonna plant my flag on. It's just a thought that I had. So is it really kind of do you feel that it's your desire to keep it the way it's worded?
It is for me.
Okay, well, that's good enough for me, so I'm gonna retract what I just said and offer a motion that we approve what's in front of us.
And suspend the rules,
Yes, please,
please.
before I get into more trouble.
Yeah, further discussion?
Second yet.
Oh, no, we didn't get a second? Okay.
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Alderman Gartner,
Yes.
Alderman Volkert,
Yes.
Alderman Montello.
Yes.
Alderman Kittle,
Yes.
Alderman Breeze,
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier.
Yes.
Motion passes. Any communication or miscellaneous?
Yes,
Figured
you have an invite in front of you. There is a Boards and Commissions Appreciation Night on Tuesday, March 25th at 5 o'clock here at the council chambers. There'll be a brief presentation, snacks, treats. Place your order for food now. But we really do hope people can join us for a night to talk about all the accomplishments and to appreciate the volunteerism in the community.
Would we necessarily have enough time in that night just to talk about your accomplishments?
I'm going to book it in. I'm going to have some handouts available for that. And also, the Tigers are currently tied, so let's
Thanks for that information.
wrap it up.
How much time's left? 3 minutes and 10 seconds.
I had a couple things too. Tomorrow night happens to be Citizens Academy graduation, and Mayor Zakowski, Michelle, Christy, and Jamie are all, if they pass the 300 question written test tomorrow night, will pass the Citizens Academy. And then I just wanted to thank the council and especially my staff over the last week for the work that the police department's done. They have been burning it at both ends, and I appreciate their hard work. And
Did you
and
do
I
the
just-
taser demonstration yet?
that,
Did you do the taser demonstration yet?
yes, we did.
Yes, it was
And,
horrifying.
Here's someone
Craig didn't want to do it,
volunteering.
though.
And our volunteer for this year's
I did not
taser
even
demonstration says he will never volunteer for that again. So, we will be looking for somebody from the council for next year.
Sweet. You can be the volunteer. Oh,
Just want to echo Chief Young's comments about the police department and the work that they've been doing. Just want to recognize our public works staff. Last week, obviously, we had a good foot of snow here, did a great job plowing the streets. And then looking ahead in March, I've been in communication with Dr. Miller of the school district about potentially doing a more informal lunch meeting like what we did last spring about the referendum, but just to talk about initiatives, long-range planning for the district. We can talk building project. So in the coming days, I'll reach out to see if we can get a date. Be something similar where we had light food and just probably more over the lunch hour if there's a time that would work well for folks. So, thank you.
else?
Require a motion to get the clock.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you.
Caitlin, you should do the citizen.
On foot?
She was walking.
You were walking
Like,
through the